Let's just jump right in with both feet here. And I understand there was a big game in the NFC North last night, but the Bears are sitting there going into San Francisco this weekend. Coaching job is open. I understand, he's not usually a source for national sports news, but sports talk radio host in Chicago, Dan McNeil, saying that the Bears heard that Jim Harbaugh was interested in their job and wanted to get it. And they decided to just keep Matt Eberflus even upon hearing all of that. What's your reporting about the Bears coaching search then and now, Tom Pelissero?
What I would say, Rich, and this is me going back in my brain, I had not seen that statement made, but I mean, I heard last September that Jim Harbaugh had told people, I think I'm going to be the Chargers head coach. So it was pretty apparent from very early on that that was the job, if he came back to the NFL, that he would be targeting because of Justin Herbert, because of the marketplace, going back to California with his wife. It had a lot of different things. There were various rumblings through the course of time about the Bears potentially making a change. They actually had multiple days of meetings after the season last year involving a bunch of different people, obviously including Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles, ownership, as well as Matt Eberflus at times. And the conclusion that they came to, and based upon how they finished, going 6-2, I believe it was, down the stretch, and playing a lot better on defense with Flus calling the plays, and after the Montez Sweat trade, was that they were going to make a change with the offensive side of the football, firing Luke Getsy, and up hiring Shane Waldron. Obviously, on a bunch of different fronts, that did not work out the way that the Bears were hoping it was going to. Would Jim Harbaugh have had an interest in a team that he played for in the 1980s? I'm sure. I mean, there were a lot of different possibilities that, come up through the course of time and in conversations with different people. What I can tell you, though, was from a very, very, very early stage, what I was hearing from reliable people was if Jim Harbaugh is coming back, he's going to L.A. He obviously interviewed for the Falcons job, too, but the Chargers was the one he got, and it's worked out well for all parties so far.
All right, so then let's talk about the here and now. I've said to you multiple times and said to here in this microphone, certainly when you see last night another 30-point effort from the Lions offense that includes stout running, smart play calling, high-level quarterback play, that Ben Johnson dialing up plays to beat the Packers is exactly what the Chicago Bears could use. Is he, based on your thoughts, knowledge, information, the main target for the Bears, or there are other ones that they've got in mind right now, Tom?
I would say they're still in the early stages, Rich, of that process and doing research on a bunch of different candidates, both the ones that are the logical next man up type of guys, as well as some of the people are not thinking about and may not just be a current NFL coordinator. However, as I mentioned on game day morning last week, absolutely, I anticipate that Ben Johnson is going to be a person of interest in this search. It is going to be as much Ben Johnson selling himself to the Bears as much as it's going to be the Bears having to sell themselves to Ben Johnson. This is not a guy who's trying to get the perfect job, but he does want to make sure that there is alignment and the opportunity to have long-term success. You've got a quarterback there in Caleb Williams, who we have seen the flashes from. We've seen him play pretty good football. There is talent on the roster. They've got somewhere around $100 million in cap space, depending where the cap ends up landing next year. They've got extra draft picks. Remember, because they still got Carolina's second rounder coming to them. And they've got, again, a quarterback that you can build around for years to come. There's a lot of pieces of the equation that are there, but, the Bears are going to be methodical in this process. And Ben Johnson is going to thoroughly analyze this. The reasons 2 years ago, David Tepper had a plane waiting to take him to Charlotte. He quite possibly was going to be offered and accept that job. Decided the night before, you know what? I don't feel good about it. His wife was expecting at the time. They loved Detroit. Ben had not been to the playoffs. He wanted to see that thing through with Dan Campbell. So he came back. Last year, he was a strong candidate for the Washington Commanders job, somebody that they were going to target. but going through the entire the playoff run that they did, and then based on the cadence of how these interviews work, having to go and try to do an interview the day after the Lions had lost that game in San Francisco, he just decided this was not the right time for him either. Is this going to be the year? What I would tell you is Ben Johnson's in a much better place to make those decisions now. He is far further along in terms of the feeling of readiness to be a head coach. But he's also still happy in Detroit. He makes a good living. He loves the job there. He loves Dan Campbell, loves the city of Detroit, and wants to make another run. In other words, this is the rare guy, Rich, who's not just going to take a job because he wants a job so bad. He's already pulled back in each of the past 2 cycles. The only other guy in recent memory I can remember doing it this way on the head coaching side was D'Amico Ryans, who the Vikings wanted to bring in for a second interview when they ended up hiring Kevin O'Connell. And he, got the call and just said, you know what, I'm a 1-year coordinator. I think I need a little bit more seasoning. I think I want to go back to San Francisco. He coached another year. He took the Texans job. They've had a lot of early success here. Ben doesn't need to take a job. He'll be a head coach in the NFL eventually. Is that in Chicago? There's a lot of reasons and a lot of dots you can connect to say that this potentially is going to be a match, but we may not have, firm answers on that until we get into probably late January.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.